Hello and thanks for joining us. My name is Brian Boteller. I am the Director of Resident Services for the Gospel Rescue Mission in Grants Pass, Oregon. This is the beginning of a four-part series about helping homeless people and how to get them out of homelessness. Today's video is titled, Who Helps the Homeless? And my guest today is Mr. Kevin Darr. He's the Executive Director of U-Turn for Christ. We will have links supplied in the description below. If there's anything that we say that you really like or resonates with you, please check us out. Subscribe, comments, all that kind of stuff. Let us know so we can address some of those things, maybe questions you have about what to do about homeless people in your area. With that all said, let's jump into the video. So my name is Brian Boteller. I'm the Director of Resident Services at the Gospel Rescue Mission. I've been working with homeless people for probably the better part of 20 years, been working for the Gospel Rescue Mission, and really intentionally and in-depth working with homeless here in Grants Pass for almost 12 years now. My guest is Mr. Kevin Darr. Kevin, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm the Executive Director of U-Turn for Christ, and basically what that is, it's a ministry, residential drug and alcohol treatment ministry that is based here in Grants Pass. And what we do is similar to the Gospel Rescue Mission in the sense that it's a highly structured environment where men can come in who struggle with or are in bondage to alcohol or drug addiction. And through a mentoring process, and we allow them to really go through our program in such a way that through accountability, we keep them occupied physically, spiritually, and mentally. So as they go through this process, we can develop the tools that they need to, once they transition out of our program, to be a valuable blessing to society, to their family, help them restore the relationships. And me personally, this all bore out of a couple of different things. Before that, in Southern California, I was a director of a homeless ministry called Warmth for the Weary. And one of the things that I noticed in that was kind of like we were talking about earlier, Brian, is that there was before I got into the homeless ministry aspect, the way the news portrayed it, there was this poor lady who, was kicked out of her apartment. Her and her kids are homeless and just needs a little hand up to get back out. But that's not what I found when I really started diving into homelessness. What I found is usually there was three things that as to why people were homeless. One was addiction. They would rather use the money that otherwise could be used for rent, utilities, etc., for drugs. A lot of them would freely admit it to me once I really got to know them. They're like, I'd rather be living in a tent but have more money for my partying. The second thing, there was homeless or mental illness. And kind of as we were talking about, a lot of the mental illness, I believe, was drug-induced, but I'm sure there was some where, it was the other way around, where they're trying to self-medicate their mental illness away. And then the third thing was a lot of them had legal issues that they were hiding from. And so, once I kind of had a clearer picture of what that was, it kind of led me down some roads, because I used to work for the government. And in the job that I did, I kind of investigated the worst 1% of crimes that happened to people who were dependents of the state of California. And in 100% of those cases, there was some kind of illicit drug use, just because drug use is such it's a gateway to evil, I know even back in my college days when I used to drink or whatever, there was things where I did when I was drinking that I would have never done sober. So magnify that with someone who, is using hard drugs, meth, heroin, or whatever.
Yep.
And they perpetrate evil that they would have never probably dreamed of doing sober.
Sure.
And so those were the kind of people that we dealt with, and all of that kind of led me here to Oregon, back to my home state, to start the ministry, because there's such a huge need for the kind of ministries that we run, in the sense that I know a lot of the guys that have gone through our program and said, I've been through secular program after secular program, and I didn't get from it what I needed. Everything from, the idea of cocktails on the beach in rehab to, $40,000 a month kind of thing, to
where you got your personal massage therapist and all this stuff. Yeah. Which, hey, those may work for somebody, right, and everything, but you're going, there's a more grassroots, more nuts and bolts way of attacking this in that's available, and it's been available for over 2,000 years in some ways,
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole thing behind, our ministry. It's, our tagline is freedom from drugs and alcohol through Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's really what we believe. That's really what we ingrain in our men. So not only can they be equipped to deal with life's issue from a biblical, point of view when they leave our program, but they can also take that home to their families. And, we do a lot of marriage counseling and that kind of stuff. Because let's be honest, addiction doesn't only affect the addict, but it affects the family, the spouse, the kids, etc. And so there's a lot of brokenness that needs to be dealt with. And going back to the low bar conversation that we had earlier, it's like, you can't possibly deal with all of the underlying issues by setting a low bar.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. It's kind of just putting a Band-Aid on the real issues. That would be almost like if you had a lesion or something, a cancerous lesion, and you kept putting a Band-Aid on it so it don't bleed. All right, you're going to stop the bleeding temporarily, but it's never going to go away until you
still got to remove the cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, I see it the kind of work that we're attempting to do by holding people to a higher standard is really saying that we have enough faith, trust, and we love them enough to hold them accountable. Because it'd be easy to set a low bar and just say, hey, you want to smoke, you want to get high, just try not to do it here. And, but you can have a warm place to come, and you can come eat food, and we'll all feel better about ourselves. But nobody ever gets out of that pattern.
Right. Well, that's, again, we end up singing a lot of the same song, man, Now, with U-Turn, about how many guys do you take care of at a time? On average? On average,
throughout both phases of the ministry, there's probably between 20 and 25 guys that we deal with.
And are you just here in Southern Oregon? How big of an organization is U-Turn for Christ?
We have about 20 throughout the United States. We have them in Mexico, Thailand, the Philippines, Colombia, Africa. So it's it started in Southern California and has spread out over the years. So.
Yeah. So we're not talking about, we're not talking about just a couple of local boys that are just, made up a program out of, whole cloth because we're just good Christian young men. But we're talking about, organizations that are drawing from the experience of nationwide and international, experience. At Gospel Rescue Missions, there's literally hundreds of years of combined, wisdom that we draw from as we do what we do.
Right.
And I'm sure it's the same for U-Turn.
Exactly.
And we're often treated like, you guys just don't understand. You little religious organizations, you really don't understand. We're the government. We're going to come in and do it this way. way. So it's I'm always kind of, I guess I hate to say it. At first, it was irritating when I'd get talked to that way, but over time, it just gets discouraging. I'm not really irritated anymore. I'm just kind of bummed out when I hear people that talk about us like, well, that's cute. Your little Christian-y program, where's your PhD in psychology? And I go, I don't have one. And, but I've literally helped hundreds of men and women, hundreds, maybe thousands of men and women leave addictions behind, stop, completely get off the need for depression and anxiety medications. I've seen them, I mean, not all of them, but I've seen plenty of them, leave all this stuff behind. I've seen hundreds of them go back into this community and become productive members in our society here and wherever they move to. I've got them all up and down, all across the country, doing life well, because when they were spiraling out of control, we were there for them and we let them in and they walked with us and we were what they needed. And, again, I think a lot of people get angry with a gospel rescue mission. I was dealing with this with some folks on the internet the other day, on our Facebook, one of these Facebook lines of, I think it was from one of the news channels that had said some bad stuff about us. Kind of, they don't go about it directly, but they'll kind of frame us in a bad light. And the framing was the gospel rescue mission forces people to go to a Bible study in order to get food and shelter. And then it was just this long thread of, those are a bunch of hypocrites. Those guys are a bunch of, Christians shouldn't be able to do anything called charity. This is unloving. That's un-Christ-like. It's blah, blah, blah. And they just went after us and everything. And so I jumped in and I was kind of like, hey, I'll tell you what. I've been there for a while. I'm the longest standing, at this organization. I've been here longer than any other employee here. I know a thing or two about it. Let me answer any questions you have, and about why we do what we do. And in the nutshell, what we finally kind of got down to was, I said, well, here's the difference. What most people think of in helping that homeless person, what most people think of as help is providing food, clothing, and shelter. And what those things will do, it will provide a level of help, a kind of help, but it's not the kind of help that I'm interested in. And so I'm not interested in food, clothing, and shelter, although we do all of those things. Right. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them out of homelessness. I'm trying to get them to where they're no longer homeless. And what I mean by that is I want them to be the kind of person that can make any choice they want, pay for whatever kinds of food they want, drive whatever car they want. They're independent and don't fall under anybody's rules because they're doing life right, like the average citizen does. And so for me, I'm more interested in getting them from homelessness to there, not from homelessness to fed, or from homelessness to warm, or from homelessness to inside four walls. Those things are necessary. I'm not saying they're not necessary parts of it, but they're not the end goal. And so if they were the end goal, I'd go, you're right. I'm a hypocrite. That's the wrong thing. That's the wrong way to go about it. And if that's what Jesus told us to do, if that's what the gospel was all about, then you're right. That's I guess, I'm a bad guy. But I think that the gospel is about becoming a new creation in Christ. It's about something different and better. It's reminding mankind that they were created in the image of God and that they're capable of more than what they've become. And so we send that kind of a message to them, and we put together that kind of a program. It's not food in trade for or preaching in trade for food. It's you want a way out of homelessness? I'm going to give you a Christian program. And here's why. It's the only way I know. I'm a Christian. It's the only thing I know. I can't tell you how to do it in a non-Christian way. I don't see a lot of success in the non-Christian ways. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying I'm not impressed with what they're doing.
Right. Well, and that's what the detractors don't say about both of our organizations. We don't hide the fact that we're Christian organizations, and we don't hide the fact that if you're going to come into our program, here's the requirements, and you're going to go to chapel twice a day, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. So to me,
voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
They go, I want to do that. No one's making me, no one's twisting my arm. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we're not forcing them to come into our programs. There's
Right.
nothing about it, but they do know to stay in, at least in our program, you are going to attend the church services and you are going to do it. It's an expectation
Yep.
as part of being in the program. So up front, they know exactly what our organizations stand for. They know exactly what their requirements are of them. And if they don't want to meet them, that's okay. Then maybe we're not the organization for you, and
Exactly.
that's fine. That's not an issue. But it's kind of setting up one of those straw man arguments so that they can have a negative thing, to state against. Oh, well, we require them to do all this. No. We don't require them because we let them know up front, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we know works. Like
Yep.
you were saying, we have hundreds of years of collective experience here and thousands of guys worldwide that are, successful family men, businessmen, whatever the case may be, that have gone through it and it worked for them.
Yep.
So it's not like we're not telling anybody to be homeless or to continue to live in their lifestyle. All we're saying is, hey, please come. We want you to be successful. We want you to go through every phase of the program that
Yep.
there is, and we want you to go out and be a success story in society and as you were saying, get off of probation and get out of the court system and get your kids back and
pay down your child support and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
We want you to go from just surviving, which is really what the low barrier is of, food, warmth, and the basic necessities. Yeah, we'll provide those, but if we're not going to keep you there.
No.
We love you too much to keep you just surviving. We want to see you thrive.
Well, that wraps up the first video in our series on how to help homeless people, and I hope that you found that encouraging, thought-provoking, and challenging. If you did, would you do me a favor and just write some comments down? Let me know what you thought, if there's things that you'd like us to discuss. Boy, I'd really like to make videos that are interesting to you regarding homelessness and what we do. Kevin is a lot of wealth of information, a lot of fun to talk with. He and I just, really think a lot alike. We are really working on building up our YouTube channel, and so I'm wondering if you would be so kind as to click the little like button down below and follow us. And maybe if there's things that we've said that you found thought-provoking, maybe helpful to the topic of homelessness in your community, maybe share them on your Facebook page, share them in your YouTube channels, and get the word out because we want to make this helpful. We want to have the discussion elevated here across the country. And the next video that we're going to do is called "Change Isn't Easy," and we all know that's true, and certainly that's true for homeless people. As always, look down the links beneath. In the little comments beneath to find links to U-Turn for Christ and links to the Grants Pass Gospel Rescue Mission, which you can find at grantspassmission.org. Hey, thanks again for watching. God bless you and have a great day.